is going on, everyone at South Harmon? Welcome to the latest episode of the Game Plan. We got an action-packed show for you planners here today. Shout out Dynasty, Barry in the chat. What's good, everyone on at home this morning? We still tapping because DP, you are the absolute man. Fizzle Dollars in the house. Let's go, AJ, my man. What up, AJ? Canton legend. Shit school legend, AJ in the house. Shout out to everyone tapping in at 9 a.m. for the game plan. Today's episode is going to be a ton of fun. We going through, of course, news and notes. We're going to hit the shit list towards the end of the show. But, of course, today, as you probably saw from the thumbnail, we're getting bold. Real bold. Bold takes for week 3. Not just bold, too. They're not just bold for the sake of bold. They're bold with a chance to be true. And I'm going to tell you why I think they're going to be true. They're crazy. They're lofty. They're fun. It's going to be a wild, wild week 3. But these bold takes are not just your average, throwing shit at the wall. Pun very much intended. To see what happens. I got some facts to back it up. I got some facts. So let's get it going. I know everyone's in here. Redwood's in the chat. Top of the morning, gents. What up, Red? What up, Ryan? How you doing? Guys, thank you so much for tapping in. It's awesome that you guys joined us for Shit Sundays. The game plan at 9, starter shit at noon. We got a great slew of hosts today joining Eric. It's going to be a fantastic Sunday, and we're going to try to get those week 3 dubs. Get ready to rock and roll. Let me fix my mic. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit here. Yeah, we're getting set up, baby. Robo Chris is in the chat. Guys, thank you so much for being in here today at this early morning. Let's start with a little news and notes. You've been seeing it all week. You kind of have an idea of who's out, who's in. But here's the skinny of what has been brought to the forefront here this morning. Not a fantasy relevant player, but Jedrick Wills from the tackle for the Browns. He's going to play, which is huge. He's been out all year. This should help keep the offense a little bit more sturdy, keep Deshaun Watson upright, and hopefully, this means some good things for our guy, Jerome Ford, who I don't know what the hell Kevin Stefanski was freaking thinking last week, running Deonta Foreman over and over and over. I guess you can blame the Jaguars for sucking and allowing it to work, because we saw Jerome Ford go 6-7 carries for over 60 yards. He's super efficient. If he had more volume, he would have had a good fantasy day, but whatever. Deeper leagues are going to be excited to see that Greg Dortch is expected to play in possibly the shootout marquee matchup of the week. I am playing Greg Dortch in one league, so I'm happy to see that he's active. Justin Herbert is preparing to play, but he let reporters know that he suffered a high ankle sprain in last week's game, but he is preparing to play. That game's going to suck for fantasy managers. Chargers and Steelers. But, if you got the Steelers DST or the Chargers DST, we're excited about that. Michael Pittman is expected to play. He's been dealing with a bit of a calf and back injury, but I don't like to see him banged up because the production's already been a bit low, but he is going to play, and if you have him, you're probably playing him because you drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round. You got to get him in there. Jordan Love is looking like he will not play. Malik Willis will get his second start at Packers quarterback. If you roster Mr. Jaden Reed, you're not excited about that. They did not manufacture him a whole lot of touches last week. They just ran it, and I would expect a lot of that today. It was said in another podcast, and I completely agree, the least amount of Malik Willis that you can allow to be Malik Willis is probably the best for the team, which sucks for pass catchers. Tanks Bigsby, he's questionable, but it seems like he'll play. But if you have Travis Etienne, you're obviously firing him up, and it looks like he's going to get even more of the lion's share. Taysom Hill is out. He will not be playing today for the high-powered Saints offense. Vita Vea is out, which is huge for Javonte Williams. It's huge because he is an absolute force there in the middle of that Buccaneers defense. If he's out of the way, Javonte, who did get the lion's share of work for the Denver Broncos, could be a low-key play. I have him ranked at 28, but with this news, I may bump him up a handful of slots. I could see him settling at 26, 27, so pretty much about the same. George Kittle is out. The San Francisco 49ers are taking on the Rams, and it seems like ain't nobody playing. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua, no George Kittle, no Deebo Samuel, no Christian McCaffrey. Wow. That game did not have the star power that we were going to hope for. But are you playing his backup? Am I going to play his backup, Eric Sobert? No. Nope. If you need a pivot at tight end, you can stick around for the shit list later, but I'll just throw out a name. Kobe Parkinson in that game, Mike Gesicki on Monday night. Or even if you want to get a little bit freak nasty, you could go with Cole Kmet, because there haven't been any touchdowns thrown by Caleb Williams. So you can't just say that it's not going to be Cole Kmet. Could be Cole Kmet this week. Joe Mixon is out, which will lead me to the shit list player at running back. We'll talk about his replacement soon in the show. BJ Hill is doubtful. We love it. All the B robbers out there, we love seeing that. Dalvin Cook was not elevated from the practice squad this week. So if you're waiting on Dalvin Cook, you're going to have to continue to wait. Some fun news this week, though. T. Higgins will suit up and play in week 3. He's missed the first 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. I'm inserting him right into the lineups in which I roster him. I have his top 30 play. That Washington Commanders secondary is disgusting. It's gross. It stinks. It smells. And I expect a big game from Joe Burrow. A little bit more about Joe Burrow a little bit later in the show. Evan Ingram is again expected to miss his second straight game. Brendan Strange becomes a what the heck am I doing, but I may need to insert him into my tight end play. He is going to premiere in the lineup as I update it here. Evan Ingram will be officially ruled out, and he will line up as tight end 17. So not quite as high as the tight end that I'm going to talk about on the shit list, but another option in case you're kind of up shit's creek without a paddle at tight end, which unfortunately is so many of us in fantasy football. Josh Downs has been removed from the injury list. He will make his 2024 debut. I'm excited to see what that offense looks like as it starts to come together, as Anthony Richardson hopefully starts getting a little bit more poised, a little bit more comfortable, as he also returned from a big injury last year. And we'll see how Josh Downs kind of goes about business here in his first week playing. I got him at 51, so I'm trying to stay away. I want to see what it looks like, but we'll see how it goes with him and with T. Higgins as they make their debut. That's pretty much it for the biggest news and biggest notes from later part of the week. And this morning, it seems like pretty much what we knew is kind of what's going to end up playing out. No big surprises as we head into the Sunday morning games. The chat's popping again. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in early Sunday mornings, getting ready to rock and roll on this week 3. I got a lot of 0-2 teams. It's been a bad, rough, no good, nasty start for you boys. So I'm hoping for a lot of bounce back in this game. I'm just looking through the chat here, see if there's any questions coming up. If you have any lineup questions, any trade, anything going on with your fantasy teams, make sure you go ahead and leave it in the chat. We'll bring it up on the screen here. And if you want to leave a super chat, you'll obviously propel yourself to the tippity top of the list, and we'll make sure we go in depth for your decisions, and we'll get you all sorted out. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start with the bold takes. But actually, before I do, I'm going to say something that is bold. Actually, it's not bold, because we all know that Manscaped makes a fantastic product when we're trying to keep it nice and tight, when we're trying to look our best for our significant others. We want to be in tip-top shape. We want to look good. You want to look as good as this shirt. You want to look good below the shirt, underneath the shirt. But if you go over to Manscaped and use the promo code SHFF20, ladies and gentlemen, you will get 20% off and free shipping from anything that you buy, whether it be the lawnmower, the weed whacker, butt bombs, ball bombs, anything to make it nice and tight underneath the wardrobe. You can get it 20% off using the promo code SHFF20 at checkout. All right, bold take number 1. DeAndre Swift rushes for over 100 yards. And you might be saying, that's not that bold. Well, when you factor in, he hasn't gone over a rack since week 3 in 2023. So, as I said, DeAndre Swift rushes for over 100 yards for the first time since week 3 of 2023. Indy's rush defense has been awful so far this season. They've given up 237 rushing yards per game. That's the most in the NFL. They've also given up 15 runs of 10-plus yards so far this season. That is also the high mark, or I guess you'd say the low mark so far in the NFL. And they have the 5th highest RYOE. Okay, if you don't know what that means, it ain't good. That's rushing yards over expected. It ain't good to give up more than expected. And they give up the 5th most RYOE so far this season. And DeAndre Swift, despite not being all that good, has dominated touches. So, yeah, I see in the chat here, Khalil Herbert, AJ. Hey, listen, AJ, no. Khalil Herbert ain't getting touches. He did score the only Bears touchdown in 2024. But when we look at the rush attempts, DeAndre Swift has 24 rush attempts. All other running backs on the team, Velus Jones, Khalil Herbert, have 9. Now, I believe in my heart of hearts, it's time to see Roschon Johnson. I said this on I believe it was the walkthrough. You check out the walkthrough anyway you get podcasts. When this matchup is very important for our confidence in the Chicago Bears, because they have an opportunity to line it up and run it down the Colts' throat. And if they do so, it'll give us some confidence that Shane Waldron knows what the hell he's doing. Now, if he just goes back and lets Caleb drop back 50 times and get chased around the field, well, then it's just going to be we're just going to have to lose all confidence in this offense for 2024 and pray that Eberflus and Waldron are cut on out of there heading into next year. But this is the week where they're going to set it up, run it. No DeForest Buckner for the Colts as well. So it should be that much easier, that much more of an advantageous matchup for the Bears to, line it up and rush it. Just get the big boys up front and just clear the lane. And it's going to be DeAndre Swift. It's got to be DeAndre Swift this week. And again, he hasn't had a bunch of production, but he has shown some juice. 38% of DeAndre Swift's touches have resulted in a rush of over 15 miles per hour, which is the benchmark. You go over 15 mph, you get that's a tally mark. That's something we have to remember. And like I said, almost 40% of DeAndre Swift's rushes have actually resulted in that type of top speed. So he's still got the juice. He's getting the touches. Now let's see if this offensive coordinator is cognizant enough, is coherent enough, is actually an NFL effing offensive coordinator to do the right thing and line it up and run it down the throats of the Indianapolis Colts. So today, the bold take number 1, DeAndre Swift rushes for over 100 yards for the first time since this time last year. We got something in the chat here, my man, Geis, T. Higgins, BTJ, Calvin Ridley, PPR. Oh man, I'm gonna go with Ridley here by a cunt hair. Okay, pardon my expression. I got Ridley at 27, Higgins at 30, BTJ at 31. This is one of those times where if you have something in your gut, I'd say go with it. But if you want my honest opinion, if this was my team, I would be going with Calvin Ridley. But again, if something in your brain, something in your gut says I'm going with this guy, chase it, because in my rankings, they're all within 27 to 31. So I have them in the same grouping. I'm looking at them to have a pretty big game there. So if you have something in your gut telling you go one way or another, you follow it, because right now they're all ranked pretty clumped up in my rankings at 27, 30, and 31. But I got Calvin Ridley at the highest mark here. I saw another question in the chat. Trade Brooks for Higgins. I'm assuming that's Jonathan Brooks. Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely do that. Jonathan Brooks might be great next year, but we can worry about next year's problems next year. If this is a seasonal league, yeah. We are doing it so fast. I just did it. That's how fast I'm doing it. I just did it. That's how fast I'm doing it seasonal. In Dynasty, I have this much hesitation, but I'm still going like pretty fast, because Higgins, he's coming out after a big contract next year. Hopefully he's the no doubt wide receiver 1 on a team that is going to pay him a shitload of money to be that. So we'll be very, very excited about that here. Stephon Diggs or JMO in my flex. Bike walkers, you're going to have to stick around. Because I'm going to answer that question with one of my bold takes. So please stick around. Again, everybody who's tuning in at 9 a.m. this morning, I love y'all. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is we're building something here, and it's because you guys rocking with me early on Sundays. I wake up early. I woke up at 6:30 today. And I was like, I'm going back to sleep. The kids are still sleeping. I'm going back to sleep. And I was like, I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited for today's show. And I couldn't go back to sleep. And it's because of each and every one of you guys. I love y'all. Start Higgins, Pittman, or Coleman. Higgins here. I'm going Higgins. Pittman, with Pittman being banged up, I do have him higher in my ranks, but I think I may lower him here after I make my final adjustments after the show. And I'm gonna go T. Higgins here. I love the matchup for T. Higgins, and yeah, Coleman showed a little bit in week 1, but then it was a complete no-show, dud, zero, nada in week 2. I'm just not ready to go back to the Coleman well right away. So we're not going to go ahead and do that. Let's move on to the next bold take, which is actually going to go, I don't know if it's against Keon Coleman, but it's certainly not for Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakir finishes as a top 25 receiver in week 3. It's a bold take, but I wholeheartedly believe it because I have him at wide receiver 24. I absolutely believe we're going to see a big day for Khalil Shakir on Monday Night Football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. There isn't a lot of targets to go around on this team quite yet, but Shakir does lead the team in targets. He has 8 targets, and that leads the squad. And he's been a yak guy. Since he's been in the NFL, he's been a player that has been able to create after catch, and he's always posted very efficient, very kind of eye-popping yak stats, even dating back to last year. And this year, or last year, I mean, top 15, actually. And get ready for this one. YACOE. Guess what that means? Give you 1 second. YACOE. Yards after catch over expected. He was top 15 in that metric. So the man gets rumbling, stumbling after he makes those receptions. And when you look at the Jacksonville defense, well, they give up them yak. Anyone, side note, and this is what I do here in the game plan. Like, my brain just runs. Anyone remember Ace Ventura when nature calls, the second Ace Ventura? My buddies and I were talking about the other day how it holds up. It's still funny. There's a scene on the plane where he goes, and now I yak. And he goes, yak, yak, yak. And I always think of that when I think of yak. So the yak man, a.k.a. Khalil Shakir, is going to dominate this defense because Jacksonville gives up a lot of yards after catch. So far this year, just 2 games, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense have given up 329 yards after catch, the most in the NFL by a lot. And when you look at that YACOE metric that we talked about Khalil Shakir excelling in 2023, well, this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense gives up plus 71 yards after catch over expected, which is the 3rd highest so far in the NFL. So he is he's gonna be rumbling, stumbling. He's gonna get loose. He's gonna get crazy today. And if you can get him in your lineup, I highly suggest it. I love him this week. Like I said, wide receiver 24. And after this show has completed, I am going to go into some of my home leagues, and I'm going to try to snipe out some Khalil Shakir and get him in my damn lineup. All right, we got one more bold take, and I hope you stuck around, Black Walk, because this next bold take is for you and for your question. Before I do that, though, let me just check to make sure anything's in the chat. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any super chats. I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions because we want to make sure that we get those questions dialed in and prepped so that when you tap into the Start a Shit Show at noon, you listen to those guys break it down and you could be locked and loaded. So we want to make that good. So AS, we're talking, okay, this is his lineup. If he does the trade. I'm looking at running backs. I see Pollard. Okay. I see Connor. I see B. Yeah, make that trade, man. Make it. It's a 2 keeper, so Brooks would cost us 6th round to keep. Yes. Don't worry about keepers. It's week 3, my friend. AS, let's worry about getting those dubs. Let's not worry about those keepers just quite yet. So let's go ahead and make that trade. Okay. Yeah, I do. My brain I can't help it. And then I got no one here to rile me in. There's no Cody. There's no Mike. No Adam. There's no T-Rock. There's no Eric. There's no Fizz. There's nobody here to corral me. I just spin off the face of the earth. But that's kind of how I like it, I guess. All right. This one's for you, Bike Walker. Here we go. Jameson Williams has more than 200 receiving yards versus the Cardinals. That's right. He's going for 2 racks this week. He's first and foremost in the midst of a breakout season. Jameson Williams has absolutely hit the ground running so far this season. So many glowing, positive, reinforcing comments, reports coming from Dan Campbell in the front office and the Detroit Lions this offseason has culminated in truth. It's culminated in Jameson Williams being awesome so far this season. He has 200 receiving yards on just 10 receptions. He's been hyper efficient. He's been really a true breakout candidate just 2 weeks in. He's shown fantastic separation so far this season. He has a .32 separation score according to fantasypoints.com, which is top 8 in the NFL. In Arizona, they have yet to address their secondary. Their secondary still sucks. They simply cannot cover. They cannot cover their nose when they're trying to sneeze. They cannot cover their mouth when they're trying to yawn. They can't cover anything. Arizona gives up 4.8 average target separation so far this season, which is the most in the NFL by quite a bit. And they have the second lowest coverage grade so far on PFF.com. And with Amon Ra, he's going to play. He seems healthy. He's going to be Amon Ra. I got Amon Ra at 4 in my rankings this week. But Jameson Williams is going to feast. He's going to feast on this team. And I wanted to get a little bold. I wanted to get crazy. Wanted to get real crazy. That's right, 200. So to answer your question, Bike Walker, am I going J-Mo or am I going with, what was the other, J-Mo or Diggs? Give me J-Mo. J-Mo is going to go bananas today. And my bold take is that he goes for 2 racks, not just 1 rack, 2 racks. Doubles his season total in receiving yards in just this one game. Let's go, baby. The next bold take, Derrick Henry finishes as a top 5 running back. Now, that shouldn't be bold. It's the king. That should be bold, but when we look at his usage, we look at his fantasy production, he's only been a touchdown-dependent RB2-3. But this week, this is the get-right game. This is the game that gets him into the top 5. I have him at running back 13, so I have him probably higher than consensus, but not this high, not at 5. This is a bold take. This is a little elevated. This is a caricature of my rankings. I'm at 13, but I think this week he has the upside of a top 5 running back. That's why my number 4 bold take of week 3 is that Derrick Henry finishes as a top 5 running back. Dallas does not have a good run defense. They don't really have a big run defense. They actually have the worst run defense grade on PFF. They've allowed 5 rushing touchdowns, which is the most in the NFL so far. And they have the lowest team stuff rate according to NFLpro.com. Or pro.nfl.com, however they set it up. But NFL Pro has them as the lowest team stuff rate. So they ain't stuffing nothing. They're not even stuffing their, I'm not going to go there. They're not stuffing a thing. They're not stopping anybody. And the Kang needs to get right. And John Harbaugh, in a weird way, kind of agrees. He says they have yet to feature a player yet. I would tend to disagree. They've definitely been featuring Zay Flowers. He's been feasting, and I love Zay again this week. I got Zay as a top 15 play. Zay's here, and he ain't going nowhere. But this week is a big week for the King, and the guys do. Like I said, the Ravens are due 0-2. They need to bounce back. They need to get right. And the best way to do that is, to make Derrick Henry a force, someone that's impossible to tackle. And he shines against the Cowboys. In limited sample size, he's always really kind of killed the Cowboys. I know in Tennessee, you didn't play him an awful lot, so it's a tough sample size, but this is the King. And I don't really need to get into too many more details. Okay, I don't need to talk about his career stats. I don't need to talk about who he's been. I don't need to talk about what he did last year. I don't need to talk about nothing. He's the King. Everybody knows who the King is, and it's Derrick Henry. And this week, he is going to be a top 5 running back. Let's get it. Let's go. Oh, well, Fizz, I'm going to wish this for you because I love you. Yes, these are your 2 teams going head-to-head. This is your Super Bowl matchup going head-to-head pretty much. Let's get the King top 5, and let's get the Cowboys a dub because that also means CeeDee Lamb probably had a big game, and I love me some CeeDee Lamb. Can you take the under? I'm assuming you mean this on Chris. I'm assuming you mean this on the under for JMO. Yeah, but you got to give me like crazy odds. This is bold. So if he goes over, you got to give me a car or something. You got to I was going to say your firstborn, but I got 3 kids. I definitely don't need another one. Anyhow, let's keep this ball moving. Any questions in the chat? Make sure, like I said, throw a super chat in there. I will make sure that we get into it in big detail. Super chats are always welcome. Let me see if anything in the chat here. That's a baby. Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you've seen Johnson & Johnson stock, but it dipped after P. Diddy got arrested. The Johnson & Johnson stock has just plummeted because they are no longer selling crates of baby oil to the P. Diddy residents. So, yeah, that was a little bit of business news here. The last bold take of the show of week 3 is that Joe Burrow throws for more than 400 yards against the Washington Commanders. Joe Burrow, aka Slim Shady, he's got to stand up. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Because if he does not produce and loses to the commies on Monday Night Football, he's gonna have to shave his head. He can't be blonde no more. He can't be going with this funky ass hairstyle. This is a bold hairstyle, and you can't be rocking bold hairstyles if you're not gonna go bold. And let's go bold for Kiwoom's list here. Let's go bold for me. Do it for me, Joe Burrow, your boy. You never met me, but I could be your boy. Anyway, 400 yards this week. I got him at quarterback 4. I love Burrow this week. And sometimes to know what you're going to do, you got to know where you've been. You got to know what's happened. Joe Burrow has done this. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not even 4 times. He's thrown for 400 or more yards 5 times throughout his career. And Washington's defense has just been terrible. I've kind of talked about it so far in the show. The defense has been so bad, allowing Baker Mayfield to throw the rock every which way. Daniel Jones had 2 touchdowns and was fantasy relevant last year, probably cracked a handful of best ball lineups when we weren't really expecting him to much this year, but last week he did because Washington just sucks. How bad are they? This is what I do. Washington's defense sucks. In the chat says, how bad do they suck? And I'll tell you how bad. They have the 4th worst pass rush, so Burrow's gonna have plenty of time to sit in the pocket. They have the worst coverage grade so far this year, according to PFF, and the highest EPA per team pass attempt. So they are giving up the most expected points added per pass. So they are just a sieve. They are just Swiss cheese. They have a bad secondary, and Joe Burrow is going to have plenty of time to throw. He's going to be able to hit his spots because they can't cover, and he's going to have his boy, T. Higgins, back in the lineup. So he's going to be pretty much at full strength. We haven't seen this rushing attack really do anything for the Bengals. This is a get-right game for the Bengals passing attack and Joe Burrow. This is where they put their foot on the gas and they go ahead and they absolutely smash the Commanders. Oh my God, guess what? Yep, I do. Matter of fact, I have Jamar Chase as my number 1 wide receiver this week. He is wide receiver 1 for me coming into the week. Like I said, Burrow at 4, Higgins at 30. This is going to be a chance for the Bengals to go crazy at home on Monday night. And inversely, this isn't part of the bold take, but it just needs to be said. This is also great for Washington Commanders because there's catch-up mode, or they're going to have to go punch for punch. They're going to have to put up points. 7 field goals ain't going to happen again in this game. But if you need a kicker, stick around for the shit list. Let's keep this train going. First and foremost, shout out to everyone in the track. Chris Womble, JMO is over 110 is plus 7. Let's go get Reggie. Yeah, Chris, let's do it. Let's take it. Thank you, Chris. Thank you guys. Guys still in here. Fizz, of course, still in here. Dynasty Barry's still in the chat. Everybody, thank you guys so much for tuning in, tapping in, hanging out with your boy on an early Sunday, week 3 morning. Chip Diamonds, what's going on, baby? Joe Kingsley's in the chat. What's up, Joe? Thank you guys again for hanging out here. I love it. This makes, honestly, just waking up and hitting the record button so freaking easy. So let's head over to the shit list, shall we? This is, if you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. Thank you for hanging out. But the shit list is 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 1 receiver, 1 defense, 1 kicker. Guys who are just not rostered across pretty much all the major platforms. Guys with pretty much 50% rostership or under is kind of what I'm targeting here. Guys that if you need to go hit your waiver wire right now, because you are desperate, you are plagued with all these injuries, and you don't want to give up on your seasonal league team this early. But yeah, you drafted Cup, and you had CMC and AJ Brown sideline, and all this shit's just pouring over you. this list is where you can go to try to get some help here. The first guy we'll start at quarterback is Geno Smith. Makes the shit list this week. Right now, the Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks are taking on the Miami Dolphins at home. They're 4.5-point favorites. He's only 30% rostered on Sleeper, and the over-under of 42 doesn't suggest a ton of points, but we've seen Geno Smith be very efficient so far this year. Matter of fact, he's had back-to-back top 7 QB finishes, which is probably going to shock most that he's been that good. He's been in the top 7 both weeks so far this season. In week 2, he kind of lit it up, and I thought the Patriots defense was going to play the Seattle Seahawks team pretty toughly, and they really didn't. I mean, Geno Smith had his way with the Patriots defense. Threw for 327 yards. He had 17.9 fantasy points in 6-point per passing leagues. And he leads all qualified quarterbacks so far this year in adjusted completion percentage and is second in completion percentage over expected according to fantasypoints.com. So he's been hyper accurate. He's been getting the ball to his weapons, and he's going to have his weapons at his disposal. The running game the running game for the Seahawks isn't in the forefront of their game plan because they don't have Kenneth Walker. Again, he's going to be out this week. So we're looking for Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet was not good on the ground. I think it was 38 rushing yards on 10 attempts. He was not good. He was an effective playmaker. He did run a touchdown and have a few receptions. So I do like Charbonnet. But the weaponry around Geno Smith is pretty strong. It elevates a player like Geno Smith. That's why he's been so accurate. He's been so good so far this season. Like I said, back-to-back top 7 finishes. Miami has the 3rd lowest coverage grade on PFF. After Jalen Ramsey, they don't really have a whole lot in that secondary that's performing so far. They also have the 8th lowest pass rush grade according to PFF, meaning Geno Smith will have some time to throw the ball. They're not going to be causing a lot of havoc for Geno Smith. He's not going to have to get the ball out too quick. He's going to be able to dial plays up downfield to DK or hit Tyler Lockett or JSN. We're hoping that JSN breakout last week is here to stay. Seattle has the 11th most efficient passing attack so far this season, while the Dolphins rank 29th, which means it's going to be very advantageous for Geno Smith and this passing attack for the Seattle Seahawks. And I love that very, very much for Geno. I got Geno at quarterback 14, and that is why he's my QB on the shit list. J-Cap, what up, J-Cap? Oh, J-Cap, the legend. Malik Willis revenge game. Well, the revenge that he seeks is to win. I don't know if he's going to perform because, as I said earlier in the show, the least amount of Malik Willis you can allow Malik Willis to do, probably better for the team. So I think they win. And the revenge game, let me ask you guys this in the chat. I would love to hear your thoughts, so make sure you throw your answers here in the chat. When he downplays it as a revenge game, does that kill it? Does that kill the revenge game narrative? I mean, he's like, I got paid every week, gave a shout out to the Titans owner. Didn't seem like he was all that pissed that they traded him. So if he downplayed the revenge, is it really a revenge game? I don't know. Harry Snowman's here. Good morning, brother. Good morning to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in. Thank you for all hanging out here. We're growing strong. These numbers are going up. Thank you guys for tuning in and sticking around here this morning. Sip some coffee. Actually, let me give me one quick second here, folks. Need me some coffee. Keep the energy going. Let's go. Let's keep the train moving. Malik the Freak is ready for game time, baby. Malik the Freak. You Malik Neighbors? Yeah, Malik Neighbors. Of course, we all love Malik Neighbors. Fizz, what are you talking about? We all love Malik Neighbors. And let's move on to the running back. And I teased it at the top of the show. Now we're going to talk about it here. Cammy Achilles, Cam Akers, makes the shit list this week. No. Joe Mixon. No. Damian Pierce. It will be the Cammy Achilles show. Here for the Texans, for the Houston Texans, 27.7% rostered on ESPN. So if you're playing on the worldwide leader, go out and pick up Cam Akers right now. Minnesota, I should say Houston is at Minnesota, and Houston is getting 1.5. The over-under of 46.5 is a number that we're looking to attack in terms of streams and players like this. I got him as running back 25, so a top 25 running back for me this week. And we're going to start here with the defense. DB, I got you. He's at running back 25. So he's in the DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Javonte Williams range. So he's definitely startable this week. So that's why I got him at top 25 play here, DB. The Minnesota rush defense has been nasty. They've been good. They've been so good. Matter of fact, 50% of opposing rushes have been met with a defender in the backfield, which is outrageous. They're just continuously getting after the opponent's rushing game. But so you're probably saying, Kiwoom, you're going to tell me to play Cammy Achilles against a good rush defense? Well. There's no Ivan Pace Jr. today. And Ivan Pace Jr. has been a massive weapon in stopping opposing run games. He has been, I would argue, the biggest reason with a bullet that this run defense has been so good. And he will not be playing this game. This is huge, a huge turn of events for Cam Akers in the Houston Texans. And on top of that, they are not going to be able to stack the box. You can never stack the box and try to stop a run game or be so, gung-ho at stopping a run game. When you're facing C.J. Stroud, who's throwing to Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Stephon Diggs, this secondary is not good. They're going to have to play a defense that caters to stopping the pass. Two high safeties. Sorry, Mel Kiper Jr. They're going to do it. Sorry, Mel Kiper. I know I'm saying bad words to you right now, Mel, but they're probably going to run a lot of two high safety, which means, and we've seen this now, Bobby Slowick and the Houston Texans have smart, real game plans to win football games and help us in fantasy. That goes hand in hand with them, which is great. So we love him. Bobby Slowick, shout out to you. But it's going to mean a lot of rushing steps for Cam Akers. It's going to mean a lot of plays in which Cam Akers gets the ball. And quite frankly, in his limited touches in preseason and in week 2, Cam Akers has looked elusive. He's looked explosive. And going into this week, because there's no Dameon Pierce, because there's no Joe Mixon, he's projected to see a ton of the Texans running back opportunities. Sure, Dario Gumbuale, he's probably going to be in the game for a couple third downs. He was there last week. But Cam Akers, as long as you can hold on to the football, don't fumble again as you're going to the end zone. Don't do that to us. But, man, I got to say, Cam Akers is poised to be a good play. Another side note, in one of my leagues, someone is putting him on the block, and I want him because I could use him in my flex. But they want a second-round pick. And now in this league, it's not full dynasty, so the picks aren't as valuable as most leagues. I'd say about 75% as valuable as your traditional dynasty leagues. But leave in the chat, should I move a second for Akers, knowing I'm going to play Akers this week, but also knowing that Akers probably only plays for 1 week? So, yeah, there's that. But again, he makes the shit list. And also, too, I noticed this as I was preparing this morning, that the betting numbers have shifted to look like a more grind them out kind of game between the two teams. We saw the Houston Texans go from a 4-point favorite to a 1.5-point favorite, and we've seen the over-under go up to 46.5. So I'm wondering if this is more of a grind them out type of game. Akers is going to be pretty damn good. Akers is going to be good. AJ, in my experience, you don't fade a revenge game. Okay. I wish I wouldn't downplay it, but it's a revenge game. It's the only play that's good. Yeah, okay. So, I guess the revenge game for Malik Willis is here, which makes me very excited because I do have some Jaden Reed and I want to play him. Do you trust Akers more than Dobbins this week? No, I don't. I got Dobbins a handful of spots higher. I got Dobbins inside my top 20. I got Dobbins in the James Conner, Brian Robinson range. So I'm all in on Dobbins. I'm playing Dobbins the way he's playing. He's not going to get the efficiency, but he's just been on the field a ton. Cody likes Gus Edwards this week a little bit more than I do, so maybe that kind of makes you a little nervous there, Eli. But I'm still going with J.K. Dobbins. He's just been so good. Henry game plan. Okay, what we got here? Let's go. Let's get this hashed out, Robbie. Demont, Pittman, Worthy, and Adunze. We got to pick one and don't trade the second. Thank you for that. Thank you. I needed that. Demont, Pittman, Worthy, or Adunze. Let's go with Montgomery. Let's go with Montgomery there. I like Montgomery. Akers or Brian Robinson? We're going Brian Robinson. No DJ Hill, no BJ Hill, no big dog in the middle for the Bengals. We've seen Brian Robinson be so fast, so elusive, and really take advantage of these opposing defenses with a running quarterback like Jaden Daniels. Sure, Jaden might take some of the goal line stuff here and there, but we love Brian Robinson. We're going B-Rob all day, every day. Starting Minshew over Herbert this week feels gross, but it's one QB with no depth at QB. Listen, do it, brother. Do it, brother. I have Gardner Minshew as QB 20 in my rankings, and even before I really cared or was really thinking he may miss time, I had Herbert at 25. And even though he's going to play, I'm not putting Herbert above 25. Herbert has just not been a fantasy guy. He won't be a fantasy guy as long as his team's successful. That's just not how Harbaugh wins. That's not how he wins. He will have Superman games, sure, but most of the time they're going to ask him to be Clark Kent and hand that ball off and play defense. That's how Harbaugh wins games. So go with Gardner Minshew, who's been surprisingly accurate so far this year. Super accurate. And has weapons. I mean, all of a sudden we hated that weaponry, but no, Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, pretty good. Pretty good. Now it's time. Raiders, Antonio Pierce, look at me. Look at me. Let's get Dylan Lobby on the field. Just for your boy. Just for your boy. I have McLaren, Gibbs, Laporta. Would you start Goff or Jaden Daniels? 6-point passing TD, half-point PPR. In my rankings here, I will defer to those. I got Goff at 10, Jaden Daniels at 7. Jaden Daniels so far this year. So to answer your question, Billy, I'm going to go Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels showed that he can run the ball in week 1. Showed that he can pass the ball in week 2. And in this game in which I believe the Bengals are going to light it up, I think we see both. I think we see him run. I think we see him pass. And I think we see not 1, but 2 passing touchdowns potentially from Jaden Daniels because he doesn't have one on the year. So I'm going to go Jaden Daniels here. But again, Goff, let me see. You have the stack. Yeah, okay. So you have the stack with either way. I'm going to go with Daniels to stack him up with McLaren. I like McLaren too this week. I like McLaren. Speaking of McLaren, McLaren's number 1 in the Constructors' Cup. If you like F1, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you're telling me to shut the hell up, move on. So I shall. Chef, shout out to you. Hit the king button. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, baby, Cavs Ranch. Am I starting Caleb over Fields? No, I am not. I got Caleb at 21. I need to see more from Caleb. It just looks so disastrous for him so far. And I got Fields at 18. So it's close. But Fields, he also hasn't been good. So it's just tough. It's tough for you, Chef, but I'm going to go Fields here. Let's have an amazing day, and let's get them dubs. From your words, from your mouth to the fantasy gods' ears, let's get them dubs. People, unless you're playing me in a league, then I hope you don't. But if you're not playing me, get that dub, baby. Let's go. All right, we got a few more positions here to crank through when it comes to the shit list. So let's get shitty. Jalen Naylor is my wide receiver on the shit list. We talked about the matchup with the previous player, so I already went over the Houston versus Minnesota highlights. He's only 30% rostered right now, 36% rostered on Sleeper as of this morning. I have him as wide receiver 46, so it's not a very, very strong play, but I do have him ranked over guys like Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, Greg Dortch, Josh Downs. So he is kind of at the top of that what the fuck am I doing list. No Jordan Addison, so he will be the de facto number 2 wide receiver this week. Jefferson has been banged up. He said he's going to play. He's feeling good, ready to roll. But again, without knowing that he's feeling 100 or close to 100 or whatever you can be at week 3, it feels as if they don't force the ball. They didn't force it last week. He had a massive game on 4 receptions. Jalen Naylor had pretty good game last week. And let's talk about that game that Naylor had last week. 4 targets, 3 catches, only a couple less or 1 less than Justin Jefferson. 54 yards and a touchdown. He had 14.4 fantasy points. And the thing about the Houston Texans secondary, which we know they're good. Again, 2 of these guys on the shit list are going up against good opposing defenses, but sometimes you got to find the little bit of value, these pockets of value within this, because that's why they're available. That's why you can put them on the shit list and add them right now, right? And Derek Stingley, who's the best cornerback on this team, potentially a top 10 cornerback in the NFL, he's going to have his hands full with Justin Jefferson, which means Naylor should avoid Stingley most of the game. So if we get a productive number 2 receiver, we got him not going against Derek Stingley, and he's readily available. Why not add him and put him in your team? I was about to play him. I was going to pick him up and play him over Jaden Reed, but now that I've gotten all this positive affirmation from you, the chat, who I love so much, about the revenge factor, I'm going to keep Jaden Reed in there. I'm going to run with a little Jaden Reed here. Got some questions in the chat before we keep it moving. Full point PPR, need 2. Higgins, Pittman, Steele, Akers, Waddle, D. Robinson. I'm staying away from Waddle if I can. Just don't really know what to expect. I'm going to go Higgins here. I'm not really in the steal business quite yet. I don't know how that's going to look. So give me Higgins and give me Pittman. Give me Higgins, give me Pittman. Higgins and Pittman. You also have Juwan Jennings. Nah. I don't know. I don't know if I want Juwan Jennings. I don't know. Let's go with let's not make it too hard. Let's go Pittman. Let's go Higgins. Let's rock and roll. Naylor over DeMarcus Robinson. No, I got Robinson a little bit higher. He was my shit list receiver last week. But they're very close in my rankings. They're pretty much in the same tier. But I got DeMarcus Robinson a little bit higher. Is Keon Coleman a drop yet, or is a breakout coming? If it doesn't come this week, I'd be okay. So I wouldn't drop him right now, Billy. And this is seasonal. Obviously, we're not dropping him in Dynasty, but in the seasonal context, I'm not dropping him today. But next week's waiver wire run, if he doesn't show me anything against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he gets out targeted by Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. If he doesn't break out or doesn't flash, yeah, next week will be the week I'd be okay dropping for sure. Let's see if we have much. What have we got here? Sometimes I feel like Sketch. You know, I can't read the things. He's like, "Hey, brother, thanks for the description, brother." That's kind of how I feel sometimes I'm looking. Here we go. Would you start Ford over Diggs? No, I got Diggs at wide receiver 26, and I got Jerome Ford at running back 20 when you kind of look at it. And next week, starting week 4, week 5, we'll start looking at some warp. Shout out to Coop. You know, the warp tool is the best tool to really kind of understand value and where you're currently sitting in these pockets of value for a season. But you got to wait for those numbers to kind of saturate. And after talking to him, it seems like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. So after maybe next week or the week after, so either week 4, week 5, we'll dive in some of the warp stuff, and you can kind of see what that means when I'm talking about a running back 20 and a wide receiver 26. But just trust me, I'm going to go with Diggs here in a matchup that could be pretty nice here for the Texans. Flowosaurus, one of the best names in YouTube history. Flowosaurus, DeAndre Swift or Singletary. Give me DeAndre Swift. And if you weren't here in the beginning part of the show, after we're done, wrap it up, head to the beginning part. I got a big take about DeAndre Swift this week, so you might want to hear that and give you a little bit of confidence to play DeAndre Swift. Let's move on to the tight end on the shit list. It's Mr. Jonnu Smith. Only 3.1% rostered on ESPN. I talked about this game when talking about Geno Smith, but real quick, the Miami Dolphins head to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks. They're getting 4.5 points. The over-under 41.5 is not that exciting, but Jonnu Smith is a little exciting. He's always shown the juice. I got him at tight end 14 this week. So if you're making the decision between Jonnu Smith and Cole Kmet, or Jonnu Smith and Jordan Akins, or Jonnu Smith and Noah Fant, Greg Dulcich, I'm going with Jonnu Smith here. Week 2, when most of these were playing, obviously, with Skylar Thompson, when Tua Tagovailoa was out of the game. So this was last week with Skylar Thompson, mostly at quarterback with Jonnu Smith. 7 targets, which I believe led the team last week. I should probably check that. Let me see if I can check that real quick. Either way, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 53 yards for Jonnu Smith. That was about a 7% CROE, which is catch rate over expected, which is good. We want to see positive numbers. There's numbers that push 10% in one game. So Jonnu Smith was good. Jonnu Smith was very, very good last year. So the Seattle Seahawks, they generate the 6th best pressure rate, which means that the Seattle Seahawks are going to have to, the Miami Dolphins are going to have to throw the ball quicker. And we've seen Skylar Thompson take more time in the backfield, take more time per throw than Tua Tagovailoa, who's been so good at getting the ball out quick, that he's going to have to throw the ball. He's going to have to make a conscious point to get rid of the ball quicker. And that's not going to mean a lot of dialed-up plays downfield. Now, historically, Tyreek Hill has had about a 30% target share with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. In this limited sample, it's still there. But after that, Jonnu Smith might be the second best option. He might end up being the second target for Skylar Thompson. Now, I don't think there'll be a lot of opportunities. It seems like a low-scoring type of game. But we've seen Mike McDaniel scheme some things up. And if last week was any indication of the connection between Skylar Thompson and Jonnu Smith is the perfect type of tight end that you play, when you are really in need at tight end, which at this rate, suit me up. The tight end's been so freaking terrible. I'm not saying I'd be good out there. I'm just saying that if we're talking about fantasy production, tight ends ain't been doing squat for our fantasy team. So John Smith is definitely in play for me in the shit list. A couple questions in the chat before we get the DST and kicker, the most exciting part of the show, if I may say so myself. Shout out Carlos. Thank you so much for tuning in. Carlos here around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Baker Mayfield or Anthony Richardson. I got Richardson at 9, Baker at 11. I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson based on the Konami ability, the running ability. And the thought here is I don't know if Baker has to go buck wild in this game at home against Denver. He can. I think he can be efficient. I think he could be great in terms of leading the team to victory. But I don't know if we see the 3-4 touchdowns. I think we probably see the 1 or 2 from Baker. So that's just not enough for me to bench Anthony Richardson, who is, again, one of the most athletic tight ends quarterbacks we've ever seen. So I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. I still have him as a top 10 play this week because Anthony Richardson taking on Chicago. Yeah, Chicago's D's been great. So it's tough either way. But I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson just slightly there, Carlos. Waddle or Ridley? Let's see. Ridley. I got Ridley higher. I'm going to go Ridley. I'm going to go Calvin Ridley. I have him 1 spot higher, AJ. So, again, this is one of those things. If you have it in your gut that Waddle's going to do it, then go with it. But if it were me, I'm going Ridley. I got him 1 spot higher. All right, let's move on to the DST. This was a surprising one for me. The Buffalo Bills defense. They're only rostered in 27.6% of ESPN leagues. I thought they'd be higher than this the way they've been playing. But they take on the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. They're 5-point favorites. The over-under 45.5 is solid, but it's not all that high in terms of the slate. And the Bills defense has been really strong, a lot better than I thought they'd be 2 weeks in now. I know a lot of that has to do with Tua getting hurt and, kind of, I don't know what happened with the Cardinals in week 1. They just took their foot off the gas. But anyway, the Bills defense really, they should have an advantage in 3 major factors in this game. Now, when you look at NFLpro.com, they break down matchup advantages between, the efficiencies of one team offensively versus the efficiencies of the team's defense. And the Bills are going to have a strong advantage in passing efficiency, rushing efficiency, and pressure rate. So I am all about going with the Bills defense here on Monday Night Football. Plus, you get that final fizz, the final fizz corollary here, the thesis that you always want final say, and you get that on Monday Night Football. So I'm going to go with the Bills defense here for the shit list. And to answer Chris's question, let me just go ahead and hold on. Let me get this off the screen. Who do I like, The Rock or Roman Reigns? Now, if we're talking classic Rock, if we're talking about The Rock of the Attitude Era, I mean, it's not close. But if we're talking about right now, the final boss, give me OTC, not just the original Tribal Chief, Chris. Give me the only Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Love it. Love the wrestling questions, boys. I love the wrestling questions. All right, now let's move on to the final person on the shit list here. Got to go kicker. Got to do it. It is what it is. And we're going to go with Siebert, Austin Siebert. Why? Why, you may ask? Austin Siebert? Well, he's not rostered. 1.5% roster on ESPN. I've talked about this game at nauseum. There's going to be a lot of opportunities, a lot of back and forth. And last week, Austin Siebert kicked 7 field goals. 7 field goals. Most of them were inside the 40, inside 40 yards. It was unbelievable, the amount that Jane Daniels was able to get them in the red zone and they weren't able to convert. Well, if they have the ball a lot, they're going to be back in the red zone. They're going to be attacking the Bengals. And I'll chase the field goals. Does he have 7? No. But does he have 3? One of which comes from 50? Boss. And that's what I'm chasing here. I'm chasing the opportunities for a field goal kicker of Austin Siebert. And it's funny, last week, if you happen to miss week 2, you were tuning in probably throughout the week, looking at the thing. 21 points for the Commanders. All right. They must have saw some touchdowns from B-Rob or from Jane Daniels. 21. That's at least 3 touchdowns. Who scored? Did the defense score? Let me go look. No, the defense sucks. They didn't score. How did they get 21 points? 7 field goals, people. 7. In the shit list here, we're chasing the field goals. I'm okay with that. They've been having a bunch of turnover at that position for this team, and this week I'm going to stick with Austin Siebert, and I'm going to stick with y'all. I'm going to stick with each and every one of you guys forever. You guys are the best. Shout out to everyone in the chat, everyone who's been hanging out, everyone who had questions. You guys are awesome. I love doing the show. I love rocking it out here for the planners. Make sure you are subscribed to the South Harmon FF YouTube channel. I mean, we are cranking out solo vids. We got live streams, and then we got shit Sundays, baby. The game plan kicks us off at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead, take a break, get the lineups ready, have breakfast, chill with the fam, get ready for the day. Come back to the South Harmon Fantasy Football YouTube channel at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for Eric Vanek and a slew of great hosts for the Start or Shit Show. We are absolutely going to get those lineups dialed in and ready to rock for your week 3 slates. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you put the notifications on so that you always know when me or any of the boys are going live here at the channel. Make sure you smash the like button here. Leave a comment. Even though the show's over, leave a comment about lineup decisions, about trades, anything. I like to go back and interact with you guys even in the comments. So make sure you leave a handful of comments and we'll make sure that we get those lineups dialed in, dialed right, and get you ready to rock in week 3. And then make sure you're heading over to southharmonff.com. Check out the warp tool, which, like I said, starting next week and the week after, we'll start diving in to some of the warp because we'll see that saturated. We'll see that actually take hold. And then we have rankings on there, articles on there. T-Rock's articles are the best in the biz. If you don't like the normal dry bullet points, type articles, T-Rock brings a flavor. He brings a je ne sais quoi. If you're ever at the shit school and you know how good he cooks, he brings that flavor to his articles. It's fantastic. Those are there. Rankings are there. They get updated throughout the week. You can get all of our streams there, all of our videos there. Everything that the boys are doing is over at southharmonff.com. Get yourself some merch. Rep it with the boys. South Harmon for life. All right. One last question. You cannot leave without a question being answered. Let's see what we got here. These aren't questions here. I was kidding. But we do have a question I got to answer before I say bye-bye. Monty or B-Rob? We going B-Rob, baby. We going Brian Robinson. And we going to get those dubs here in week 3. Get the dubs up. Get ready to chew them babies down. Keep game planning, my friends. And I will see you next week. Peace.